Everybody, welcome back to microbeerreviews.com. This is a very common question I get on our website and our YouTube channel. What is the difference between an East Coast and a West Coast IPA? So over the years, the IPA market has exploded. I won't elaborate too much other than the fact that no matter where you go, restaurant, bar, craft beer store, it's 9 times out of 10, hey, what's your favorite IPA right now, and what's the freshest IPA you have? Is definitely the craft beer trend. Has been for a long time, and what's really changed over probably the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years is the introduction of the East Coast IPA. So I'm going to show you the difference, talk a little bit about it, and hopefully I can clarify some things. So the East Coast IPA, which is the newer version, is typically much more complex. What the East Coast IPA does is it doesn't just feature the hops. The West Coast IPA, which started this whole thing with IPAs, is typically very hop forward. Most of the time it's very filtered, it's clearer, it's very focused on the actual hop or hops that are included. So it could involve 6 or 7 hops. The East Coast IPA is what I call much juicier. There's different variants in it to bring out maybe a fruit flavor, maybe something of the hop variety that's being used to create a much more intense overall profile. And typically it's much cloudier. Most of the East Coast IPAs that are canned and on draft definitely have a much more hazy, hence this new boom in the last 2 years with hazy IPAs. What else can I tell you about that? Pretty much, again, the West Coast is more bitter, and the East Coast is more juicy. That's kind of the way I would describe it. So what I have done for you tonight is I have a very much driven East Coast IPA here. So you'll also see them labeled as New England style IPA. This was the most classic one, I can tell you. The other thing I will share with you guys is that the process of brewing the East Coast, from what I know, I don't brew them, but the brewing time is a little bit less and a little bit less laborious on the actual brewer. So this is what I call a classic East Coast IPA. Orange, yellowish in color, a little bit of white, frothy, foamy head on it. Laces the glass. I think this one is 8.6%, but I can't see my hand behind it. There's a little bit of stuff floating around here and there, but not a ton. But when you smell it, it's very citrusy, it's very nectarish. You can definitely smell the hops behind it, but it definitely has more of a again, the juicier style to it. But this, I thought, was one of the best representations I could show you. It just looks like this hazy, crazy, and again, that's the new trend with IPAs. At least I live on the East Coast, but you go into a bar now, it used to be give me a good IPA. Now it's, do you have a hazy IPA? It's definitely changed the market. This is Wipeout. This is brewed out of California, and in my opinion, this is one of the most classic, at least looking, West Coast IPAs. It's got a nice yellow orangish color. Here again, the colors aren't that different, but the head is a little bit more pronounced. The carbonation is a little bit more. It's filtered, so again, I can see my hand on the other side of the glass, and it's just got a more clean presentation. As far as the aroma, it definitely has what I call the classic IPA smell. It's piney. It's got the bitterness from, again, multiple. I mean, you can tell there's multiple different hops in here, and it's not nearly as fruity. So it's a little bit more florally. A lot of people, talk about the different characteristics of different hops, whether it's, you know, Amarillo versus Citra and Mosaic, but this is more of a kind of a floral. I view this as take a whole cone hop and just squeeze the juice in here, and that's your West Coast IPA. So I hope that helps. From a price standpoint, the East Coast IPAs have gotten really expensive in a lot of the markets. So you can easily spend $20 on 4 of these in a 4-pack, and for an East Coast IPA. And I think I bought this for a 4-pack for $10 or $11. Now, again, that's not why you buy it. You buy it for the style. I personally like this style better. I think it's easier to drink. I don't think it's as bloating, as heavy. But I can realistically tell you, in 2020, this is the trend of where IPAs are going. Some almost look like milk. They almost have this extremely cloudy and gritty presentation, and I'll go into restaurants and I am blown away by how many people order them, enjoy them, which is great for the craft beer market. But at the same time, that's not what started the whole IPA craze. And again, it's whatever you like. Here are the differences. So in summation, West Coast, East Coast. Hope that helped. As always, we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.